No, I still think an opportunity's been missed here. I mean, this should be when we agree not just to nuclear-powered submarines, but nuclear power full stop. Because if you believe in global warming, for one, you should be demanding domestic nuclear power, which is safe, reliable, no emissions. Yet even now we're still too irrational for our own safety. But in fact, Labor says it wouldn't back this deal unless the government said no to nuclear power facilities and no to nuclear weapons too. And the Prime Minister agreed.
But let me be clear, Australia is not seeking to acquire nuclear weapons or establish a civil nuclear capability.
Okay, but let's now look at the positives. The first big product of this new defence arrangement with the US and Britain is their help in building nuclear submarines. Now, we don't know which design it's going to be. Is it going to be the American Virginia-class subs or a British sub? We don't know. Joining me, though, is a man who has called for years for nuclear submarines for Australia. Peter Briggs has commanded submarines. He rose to become a Rear Admiral. He then became president of the Submarine Institute of Australia, and he joins me now. Peter Briggs, thank you so much for your time. Nuclear submarines, why do we need them?
Nuclear submarines mobility, its survivability, and its ability to cover great distances quickly is very important for the sort of missions that we have in Australia. So a nuclear submarine compared to a modern conventional is probably 2 to 3 times faster in transiting. Particularly, the difference becomes particular when the conventional submarine is opposed by aircraft, where he's got a reduced opportunity to snort, and life becomes quite fraught in that situation. The nuclear submarine can remain deep. He doesn't need to come up to snort or recharge, and is able to move through an area much, much more quickly.
Well, can you explain to me, if you're saying, I mean, obviously you're right, because, you know, it's taking years, but the government has agreed. If the submarines, a nuclear submarine is much faster, 2 or 3 times, much more survivable, it can hide underwater indefinitely, unlike a diesel one, all that kind of stuff. Can you explain to me why we even thought that a diesel submarine was the way to go 5 years ago?
5 years ago, I don't think we could have cemented the deal we've now got. It's taken that time and the changes in the environment, the strategic environment, to reach a point where you've got both the US and the UK prepared to back us. So it was a case of starting off with what we knew we could do. I think it's a great step forward, and we're at a great starting point. We still have a huge transition to go through to bring in this capability.
Now, one of the key failures of the previous deals that we wouldn't get the first submarine until the mid-30s, the last one, the mid-50s. Obviously, the need is great. The need is now. How fast can we get the first one, nuclear-powered submarine, under this new deal?
I don't think it's going to be fast, unfortunately. One of the most challenging bits of the transition is the personnel. And not only do you need more qualified submariners, but the mix is quite different. A nuclear attack submarine has 2 qualified commanding officers and 5 qualified marine engineers, compared to the 1 of each in a conventional. So there's quite a dramatic manpower build and transition to be undertaken.
Have you got any idea when the first one might be on our shores?
Well, from the manpower training perspective, I think you're looking at something like 15 years to the first commissioning.
15 years?
You can probably shorten that with a pile of cooperation from both the US and the UK. In particular, the senior technical personnel supervising the capability ashore, who take 15 or 20 years to train. We won't be able to do that from scratch. And so borrowing those qualifications and that experience would enable us to fast track it. We have something like 900 qualified submariners today, which is a great effort, training from 4 operational submarines. We're going to have to double that to man what I think will be, the government saying at least 8. I would say you need at least 10 to actually have a sustainable manpower base.
Oh, gosh, well, 15 years, that's rather disturbing. Peter Briggs, thank you so much indeed. I mean, congratulations on your lobbying for a superior submarine for Australia. If only this had been done a little sooner, would have been great. But I guess every step is to start now rather than later.
Yes.
Peter Briggs,
yeah, no, it's a positive step. It could have been nice if we started 5 years ago.
Oh, gosh, yeah, well, thanks. Thank you very much for your time.